Welcome to a new Paradigm of Education podcast. I'm your host, Monique Sayers, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Ida Rahayu, and she's from Indonesia, and she's living in Bali. And I'm so excited to have her with us because she's going to be talking all about her life as an educator and in the green schools and her sustainability projects and everything else that I have questions for. Like there's so many different things I could ask you. So for those of you who are tuning into our podcast for the first time, a new paradigm of education is an awakening in education. We all know the education system is no longer working and people are stepping away from education as we know it and stepping into new forms of education. So that may be whether that's in your own home, forming groups with other people, or even within mainstream schools, adapting what you already have to something else. But my vision and philosophy for what I see as a new paradigm is something that's completely new and we're building it all together holistically. So everybody who's listening to this podcast is part of that creation. All the people that are on the podcast are in the creation as well as all the authors that have been a part of this. Anybody who has an interest in helping our children and helping them and to serve them in what they need, I believe that is what a new paradigm is. And so I feel like what Ida is offering is serving our children in a very beautiful way. She's got an amazing background, which I'd rather her explain to you about. So maybe you could just start with that, Ida. Just tell us like who you are a little bit so we can understand who you are, and then we can talk a bit about the Green School and everything else that you want to share. Is that okay?
Thank you, Monique. Yes, my name is Ida Rahayu. I'm from Indonesia. Exactly, I'm from Java, but I've lived in Bali for over 10 years and I'm in love with this island. It's a really, really, what you call it, powerful. I have no idea why I ended up here or how. So yeah, I've been an educator for quite a long time. I think I started since 2005. Oh yeah, now it's just how old I am. Yeah, I used to teach English and now I feel so grateful that I've got the opportunity to work at the Green School. It's life-changing for me. This is how I started to understand more about who I am in the world. And I've learned so much, not only from the students, but also for the community around me at the community at Green School. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Thanks for introducing yourself, Ida. That's amazing to hear a little bit about yourself. And so you said that you ended up going to the Green School. So what was the feeling inside of you that brought you to the Green School, like that made you want to go into this type of education? Does that make sense?
Yes. I know, just like I'm not only teaching there, like I feel like I'm also learning. That's why I feel like, wow, there's so many things that, like the more you know, the more you don't. And it's beautiful for me, like understanding, connecting also to myself, like learning who I am and then connecting myself into the world, into nature, because Green School is one of the many international schools in Bali. The philosophy is making a community, we are a community of learners making the world sustainable. So, and then there's a lot of, we're in nature, we're wallless. There's no wall at school. The whole building made out of bamboo. It's an international school, but we've got some local scholars as well. So we do some fundraising every year that give opportunity to the local schools, to the local students, to be at the school, to be at the Green School.
Oh, that's amazing. So you can have all different types of children attending. That's really cool. So it's not just and
we're I think we at some point we reached 40 different nationalities, because a lot of people also came to Green School not because of they moved to Bali or they're in Bali. They actually, a lot of family that moved into Bali because they wanted to send their kids to Green School.
Wow.
So yeah, now we have, I think the idea of having like 10% of local scholars at Green School. And we have some local students. They're also part of the community.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. And yeah, the Green School is a lot of people have heard of this Green School, and I think you can even do tours and things. I've heard of friends that have gone on tours of the school. If they don't want to go, it's like everybody wants to understand. Everybody's fascinated to know, well, how do they build this amazing school that's so sustainable, and it's such a visionary school. Like I've seen on the website, like, they do entrepreneurial things, they do things like with the recycling. It's like it's not learning, it's philosophy, like you're saying, and it's like it's all integrated, and it's amazing what I have been seeing. And it's a funny story too. Ida and I, before this podcast, we just worked out that we actually both started off in Bali in the same school as each other, but we both weren't there. We were both in the English first. I was also teaching there as well, and it's interesting how our paths have kind of turned, and we're both on these different pathways now of alternative education and helping children in different ways. But I feel the heart of the educator is always there, in wherever we are, so whatever form that is. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing that I learned as an educator here at Green School is like so Green School is a student-centered. It's like we are really focusing on what the students need and what students want. It's not about like, okay, you have to learn this, you have to learn that. Like, well, what do they actually need? What do they actually want? Like, what do they need in order to survive this world? Like, I feel like that's what education should be. Like how us teachers actually connect with the students, understanding who the students are, what they need, and also connect with nature, connect with the community around us. But now education is really, what do you call it? One size fit all, and no, it's not that. Every individual is unique. Like what do they need, and then how also like to make sure that we are all in line to prepare our students, to inspire our students to be able to survive this world without but still connected with nature and still living in harmony with nature. So teaching life skills, that is really important. And life skills. What else do we need? We need to live. So we need to learn the skills in order to survive. In oh my God, I can't say the word. In an integrated way. So I'm not opposed to like, okay, they need to learn math, they need to learn literacy, they need to learn science. But if we can just like have all those together, something that's actually more practical, more like life experience, learning like experience rather than textbook and this testing that I don't know, that means nothing. Testing is the real life testing. That's what I believe. So
yeah,
this is what I learned from Green School as an educator.
It's amazing. And I'd love to hear what your little focus is in the Green School, because it's something that many people and myself love. Like I love nature, right? I my soul is in nature. I'm always in nature, and there's so much research out there, like children can play in nature, etc., etc. But what I want to know from you is like, you have all this innovation, like you have kind of like a gift of what you're doing in nature. It's like something beyond what I can even talk about, like that. So I'm really curious, like what you're doing there exactly. Does that make sense? Like what your program is or what it is, so I can kind of get some ideas and inspire others as well. Let's all get out there, right?
That's a really good question. That's really good. What do you actually do there? Do you do something? Okay, anyway. Okay, so I teach middle school. So because I came for, like you said, like I was an English teacher, and I got a job there. I started building also a language. So I started teaching Indonesian. So I created the Indonesian program for the middle school, because at that time there was none. And then in 2016, I started learning about permaculture. This is another life changing for me. That's actually also an opportunity from Green School that I got a scholarship from half scholarship from Central Queensland University. So it was an online program, and then half of it from Green School. I learned about this permaculture. It's another thing, like, oh my God, this is even more. Like I learned so much more about like who we are as a human being. So anyway, after learning about permaculture, I started teaching more about, so I started teaching green studies. So I created this program called the Seeds to Table. So it basically is around food. So it's really like something I'm really passionate about. Like I love cooking. And then, okay, food. And then people probably don't realize that like how much impact that food, that something that you have every single day, that's something that you need to have in order to survive. But the impact is massive. But people are so disconnected with food at the moment. So that's why I created this project called the Sister Table. The idea is also, getting the students more aware of the impact of the food, not only to their health and well-being, but also to the environment and to the society around them.
That's amazing.
And I also like, this is for Green School, for the Green School students. And then I realized, you know what? I'm in Bali. I want to give back to Bali. I want to, this is my gratitude, and I want to share this because not a lot of Balinese, they have the opportunity to learn like what we have at Green School, like what students learn at Green School. So I share that with the local students. I train some of the local teachers from the local schools how they can bring this project to the schools and share with the students. So
that's cool. So can you tell us about it? Like, so can you tell me like for an outsider, like looking in at you, like what do you teach exactly, or what do you do with the students? Like, I mean, like they're, you know, you're saying food, what exactly do you teach them? Like, could you give me like some little examples or something to help me understand it?
Okay, so at the moment, maybe this is one that I'm doing at the moment. I teach green studies at with middle school.
Yeah.
I redesign. So green studies, we've been having green studies, but it's more about like environmental science. What green studies is.
Yeah.
But I redesigned it this starting last year to be more connected, to be more around food. So it's not only like cooking, so it's not only a cooking classes, but also like growing, understanding about soil, you know, the connection between the soil, the health of soil, and the food that we eat, the health of the plants, and the health of the food itself, and the impact on our body. So yeah, like for example, now I teach grade 6 students. They are focusing on more permaculture garden, so they're growing food, understanding about the health of soil, and yeah, like permaculture skills, like the plants, each plant has functions. And they support each other, companion planting and food forests and stuff like that. So it's more like into the growing and producing food from the garden. And then grade 7 is more animal connection with animal in the permaculture garden, in the permaculture system. So for example, like the chicken. So now we're working with chickens, and then also bees, like as pollinators, the chickens, we can get our eggs, and the composting, deep litter composting, etc. So, and then they're going to be working on fermentation after this, because it's still, you know, like not just animals, like bacteria is part of the ecosystem. So it's still around food, right? And then grade 8, they are more into the production itself, like the cooking, and also and enterprise. So it is now a really big project now at Green School that I'm doing, actually getting the kids to reopen. So we used to have a cafe before the corona, before the pandemic. So when the school closed, we actually closed down everything. including the main kitchen.
Right.
And then now the Green Warung, we call it the Green Warung. It's like a cafeteria at school.
Yes. I'm like, I know
so,
what a warung is, but maybe our listeners don't know. Yeah, it's like a small little cafe. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah. So it's a little small little cafe, a green, so we call it Green Warung, a green cafeteria at Green School. So it was closed, and then now when we started open again, the students reopened the Green Warung and they manage it themselves. So they're not only learning about like the food has to be healthy and sustainable, but also they're learning about like how they can manage a restaurant. It's really, they're having so much fun. Like really, me, I smile every time how like the kids interact, how the kids actually doing it. I was actually just, I don't tell them like, okay, I'm kind of like just a mentor, but like watching and seeing how they're doing it is amazing. So each students are actually, this is a real life experience for them. So they apply for the job. So I created the jobs for them. Wow. They apply for the jobs. Mm-hmm. They had to do a job interview. Even like the head chef position, they have to do a master chef, a cook-off for us to like, all right, I think you could be the head chef. But of course that the management, the managing skills and stuff like that, I needed to consider that whether this person could get the job or not. So yeah, it's real. So they do a job interview, they actually manage. So there's a manager, there's an accountant, there's a marketing team, there is a, what do you call it? There's a waiter, there's a waitresses, and then there's also purchasing teams, which connect more to the suppliers and stuff. So it is everything. And sometimes even when I'm not there, like they could still run it. So
that's amazing.
And then they get paid. This is the most exciting part. The kids love it, of course, because they learn. I hope not just because they get paid, but they really enjoy it. They really, it's really fun. A lot of reflections that I read from them, because we do reflections every like end of the term.
Yeah.
And then from the reflections, like I really didn't feel like learning in the classroom. This is not a class. This is like they're doing it. They're learning along the way.
Yeah.
And yeah, they get paid from the profit that they make. So the profit by the end of the term, we half the profit. So half the profit would go to the local farmers. So we're collaborating with some local families and farmers to help them to grow organically, which in the future, they could be our suppliers.
Yeah.
So we grow our own food at Green School. We have a lot of, we've got some lands, but we do not have enough for us to actually use in the round, because we have a lot of trees. Right. Which is, yeah, we don't have enough sunlight, because there's a lot of shady, and then there's not enough to grow. I think we still need to work in our garden to produce more as well.
And you don't want the kids. I was going to say, you don't want to interrupt what's already there. If the tree is already there, it's there for a reason, right? So you don't want to be moving. You got to work around what's there and make the food match what's there, I guess.
Yeah. So it takes time. It's a process. I know the idea is like to cook whatever we have. Actually, even though like to cook whatever we have, it's hard, like, because it's a different culture, because a lot of us, it's also a lot of students are international students, and then like what we have, it takes time to understand, to learn the recipes to make all what we have in the garden. Actually, I just learned that at Green School we have a lot of medicinal plants. That's what I learned. And I actually started teaching medicinal plants kids also the last term.
Wow.
And then I would like to improve more on that, like how we create food that's actually from these medicinal plants. But yeah, that's that's what I teach. That's a long
Yeah,
one.
yeah, no, that's really good. Thank you for sharing. And it kind of flows from one to the other. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I love that it's just like they're just doing everything, like it's they're doing it and they're learning, you know. And you can't even put words on what is that curriculum exactly. Like, of course it's like science and maths and everything else. We don't even need to call it those labels. Like those labels just don't even match what you're offering. Like, so I don't even want to say like, oh, it's this and it's this and it's this, you know. You could include the whole curriculum, writing, drawing, like the whole thing could be included in what you're doing. But none of that matters, I believe, in the new paradigm anyway, because I feel like it's like everybody coming together with their own gifts. Like, so your gift is sharing this aspect and somebody else's gift might be sharing another aspect, and the children are inspired in that way, and they just follow with what they need to know from each space holder or wisdom keeper, and then they themselves are the wisdom keepers anyway, right? Like they're the ones that, that know a lot more than we do, I believe, as well. It's really beautiful.
Seriously, I've actually learned so much. This is the beauty of it. Like this is beauty of teaching. I wouldn't want to call myself as a teacher. Actually, like I'm learning with them. I learn with them. Like we're learning together. And then a lot of time actually is like they inspire me in some ways. So I'm just with them. I'm not a teacher. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't call myself as a teacher because yeah.
No, exactly. That it feels like the old paradigm, doesn't it? Like to say teacher and student, and you know, now it's like I feel like everybody's the same and we're all kind of in a co-creative space of learning together, you know. So
yeah. And it's beautiful, like not to just, I know we probably know a little bit of ahead of them, but this is something that we share, but also it's so good to, like I said at the beginning, like to connect with them, who they are, and to know who they are, and also like what they need and what they want, and really appreciate that, and then help them nurture what they actually have already. It's beautiful. So yeah, like what you're saying, I feel like, I don't know, like the old teachings, like you need to teach this, to teach that. And then also sometimes I feel like I want to have like one day teaching without like even having this writing down the syllabus or curriculum or whatever. Like, just be there and do something and learn from that. It's I think education should be like that, you know, like we just be in nature. This nature is the greatest. Something that I would call teacher is nature. Nature is the greatest teacher. There's so many things that we can learn from nature. So many things. That's why like the beauty of permaculture is like we're learning from nature. We're learning in nature. That's what it is. Like just get the kids, go to the forest or whatever, and then just like be there, learn. You know, they're gonna learn something. You know, there's no matter what. Like if they're there, they're gonna learn something. Just let alone something really simple. It's like, why is this rock white, or why is this, I don't know, why this leaf is green? It's just getting them to be curious, and there we can find the answers.
Yeah, I feel you. I know this as well, and it even now it still unfolds for me. Nature just deepens like more and more, like in my life. The more quiet I am, the more still I am. There's so much it reveals to me over time. And you know, it's sensory. Children can, you know, access all the different sensory experiences and all of this this as well, you know, like the feeling, seeing, tasting, touching, all this kind of stuff is really good for them as well, isn't it? And do you ever teach them like connection, as in like how to deeply like connect to the land, like in a native kind of way, or give reverence or give something back to the land, like thankfulness? Could you tell us about that? Like, do you ever do anything like that?
Yeah, like mindfulness. We actually we have like mindfulness activities. I think we do like yoga nidra, or like not particularly in my class, but I do like the connection with the food. Sometimes like get them like to feel, to taste, and like to be thankful what they eat. Like sometimes we like cook together and then just eat, like, you know, just eat together as a community, and be being thankful, and just connecting with the food we have. Actually, I just did a permaculture course. It's beautiful with the kids. It's just a few students, where we stayed in a farm, and we could get the kids to actually harvest. They learned about like the farming and everything, and then they harvested and they cooked together and eating as a community. It's just beautiful. And do mindfulness and before eating, just get them to connect more. I know they've already connected with nature, but then also like more, now we sit down, we have our food, connect with the food that we just created. It's just, yeah, beautiful. And then every day, actually at 2:00, if you were at the Green School, you will hear the gong ring. That's when everyone needs to stop doing whatever they're doing and just take a few deep breaths. And yes, this beautiful moment at that time is a perfect timing for everyone to actually take a pause.
Wow.
The whole school.
That's amazing. I love, I mean, it's necessary. And I love that they do that. And the pause is the education, right? That is the moment of the education. All the wisdom comes through the body in that pause, That's really beautiful.
Pauses in any ways.
Do they start the day or do you start the day in circles, or do they start the day in circles, or like kind of connection time like that as well?
Yes. Yeah. So we have, like, in middle school now, we have pot time, and sometimes we do a circle, just connecting with each other as well. Is beautiful. Yeah. Before it start a crazy fun day.
Yeah, all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And do you teach them, like, or do they understand how to connect with the soil, or how to connect with the bees? Like, or like, is that something that's natural for the children? Like, do you notice some of them like just naturally do it, or some of them you need to be like, well, this is what I would do? Like, how does that form,
Yeah. For me, just like getting them the awareness, like the understanding about like what is the importance of the soil, for example. It's like, why do we need to keep our soil healthy, and looking at, like the abundance of food, like, because we need to eat healthy, because we need the nutrients in order to survive, right? And then to get these nutrients, we need to make sure that it comes from the healthy soil. However, the soil that, like the food that we get from the farmers, conventional farmers, etc., is not it. Like there's not enough nutrients in there anymore because of the fertilizers, the pesticides, the toxins that you can get out of this food. So just getting them to understand like the impact of the healthy soil. This is what I love, like the phrase that I love to have with them is like healthy soil, healthy plants, healthy body, healthy us, healthy people, and healthy planet. So yeah, like that kind of connection, understanding of like we need a healthy soil. And then like the animal, it's more like at some point, sometimes, to be honest, it's not easy, of course, for the kids to just stay still and meditate. It is not easy, but the connection can also come, like just introduce it to them. For example, they're like with the chickens, it's just holding the chickens, it's just like loving the chickens, that kind of connection, and then that connection of with the soil also, like when they actually nurture the plants, they go to the garden every day, and then it's like, I need to do something with the soil, with the plants. It's that kind of connection that we actually need to have. It's great to get them to stay still and meditate and stuff, but it might work for us, but not for the kids. It's not easy. But at some points we still need to get them to understand, like sometimes we need to stay still and take a deep breath. The importance of taking a deep breath and connecting to themselves, that is also crucial. So yeah, that's what I mean by connection.
Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom that you've shared around connection just there with what you've said around connection to self, connection to nature. Yeah, and of course I think the best part of children is that they move, like they're just jumping around, they're moving, they're having the best time with the body, they're like full on in the sensory experience. Like, you know, every moment is a new sensory experience for them. So in a way that is already meditation in itself. They don't need to be in that place of stillness to then go, oh, what is my body doing? Oh, my body is fluttering, because they're doing the fluttering. And and that is the meditation anyway. So yeah, I guess I was just feeling like the stuff you shared around the health and everything, that's really helpful for me, just to feel like, you know, what is the health of, or how does it all work in the system, and how does it all interconnect. And it's amazing what you're sharing, how the environment is affecting the plants, is affecting our bodies, and to be able to educate the children in the way that you're doing, that is just like, you know, out of this world. It's just exactly what is needed. Like I can't believe now when I think about, you know, normal schools that children go to, where, you know, we still do the recess breaks, and the children still sometimes, you know, have their packaged little foods that they're eating with no idea of where does this food even come from? What's it doing to my body? You know, like that's the old paradigm for sure.
I know. We still have that kind of problems. Yeah, we still have that even at grade school sometimes. Some students, you know, like we cannot, I'm not going to deny it, like
okay,
it's okay. So we need, in mindfulness, we understand, like, we need to accept that it's okay, it's there, it's them, you know, like, because at green school, at the school, they're learning, but their life is only not only at school. There's TV, there's you know, like their friends outside the school, or even like families and neighbors or whatever. Like there's so many aspects that can come into their lives, and it's not easy, you know, like especially the food industry. They're very powerful, you know, like whatever they sell makes it taste so good, you know. Of course even adults can't resist, you know, like it's not easy. It's really not easy. And sometimes a lot of time I would say, oh my god, I failed as a teacher, like teaching about all of this, like, but no, it's not. I don't want to call that, because for me it's more like I just want to inspire them. I don't want to tell them what to do. You shouldn't eat that, that's not good for you, no. But I want to give them examples. Just doing this project, the Green Warung Project, for example, and getting them connected into the plants in the soil, it's a way. They might forget sometimes, but I'm pretty sure at some point in the future they will remember that. They will come back to that. So we cannot change anyone, we cannot change anything. What we can do is just to show by examples, inspire them.
Totally. I have a kind of a cliche phrase they say in English, like to plant a seed. Like, so you're planting a seed by doing this, and then they can choose what they do with the seed, you know? So
exactly.
It's so cool.
It's
I wanted to ask you,
sorry, but us as an educator is just like remind them some points, you know, like I'm not gonna say like shaming them, it's like, oh, you eating that really? But no, like just when in class, like, okay, let's learn about this or whatever. Like I would bring in one time I would bring in a package. Actually it was I found it on the ground in Oreo package. And then I just like, hey, let's have a look what we actually have here. And then also, actually, that was really nice. We went outside the school and do a trash walk, collecting some trash.
Yeah.
And then we separate them, which one actually come from food, which ones no. I did this with grade 3 actually. And then we collect those that come from food, and then we analyze like what's actually in those ingredients, what in this packaging. So we just went outside the school, cleaning the neighborhood, collecting the trash, and then we find out which one is food, which one's not, that come from food packaging or not. And then we looked at those food packaging, and then we read what's actually in it, and then there's the learning.
Totally.
we learn from what's around us, and we learn what we found around us. So yeah, so we cannot change them, let them, but we inspire them.
I love that. Yeah, that's a very good reminder, totally, rather than placing the judgment hat on, just to inspire. I really love what you said about that. My question around what else I wanted to know was, because you said this like green warung, right? So does that mean that everything that you sold was green food? Like, so like not literally green, but as in healthy food? Like, so you had like what, for example, a green smoothie as an example? Like, what did you sell exactly? Like, I'm just curious of what you made in a green warung. Like, it sounds so cool.
Yeah, you probably like think about like smoothies and stuff like that.
Green food.
But unfortunately, the kids are not really fond of like super duper healthy stuff. But so the idea is for the kids keep innovating. Actually, it's so beautiful. Things that they love. I just want to I just love to tell them, like, hey, ask them, not tell them, ask them, like, what do you like to eat? That's what you want to sell. But how we can make that sustainable, how we can make that healthy, And one day we just had this what do you call it? One day we were closed because there was a new restrictions at school in Bali. The schools closed and minimize the activities, so we had to close the warung. What they did is like, okay, let's use the opportunity to recreate, to innovate. So it's like professional development day for them.
Wow.
So let's create something. Let's create a new menu. And then they came up with this, like, we love pasta. Why can't we make pasta? Because we didn't sell pasta, in the warung. And then it's like, okay, right. They wanted to make their own pasta. So they did. They went to the chicken coop at that time. There's like, we didn't have eggs. They just went to the chicken coop. They went to get some eggs. They came back with the eggs, a little bit of basil from the garden. We have flour. They made their own pasta.
Oh, amazing.
Basil.
Wow.
Pesto pasta. And it's a big hit, and kids loved it. And then now we're starting. In the past at Green School, we used to serve pasta for lunch, with all in this packaged plastic pasta, the dry pasta. Okay. But now that the kids made their own pasta and they sell it, so we do not need to buy those anymore. And it's stuff like that, like it's more about using all local ingredients. And one thing that is so hard is the wheat flour. Wheat do not grow in Indonesia. I'm trying my best not to use wheat, but it's not possible for international students. But it's okay, we're trying our best with all other ingredients to use. We use as local as possible. Even cheese, we still use cheese. We don't use dairy products as much at the moment. But we still use cheese. It's hard to not use cheese, especially for the kids, as long as it's not too much. So a lot of people say it's like cheese from Indonesia. Really, Indonesians don't eat cheese, but there are really good, actually, local cheese at the moment. I don't know if when you were here, I don't know if you knew this, but there's a lot of really good locally made cheese.
Oh, okay. I never looked for it.
So now all of our cheese, we got to make sure that is local, not from Bali, because unfortunately there is no dairy farm in Bali. There is near, like, 10 minutes away from school, actually no, 5 minutes away from school, there's an ashram that has some dairy cows, but not a big amount. Sometimes we got some milk from there. But a lot of time we just use coconut milk, because we have abundant, or cashew milk, which actually we got the cashew from Nusa Penida, which is also really close.
Beautiful.
So we use as much as organic produce as possible, organic, local, organic if possible, local and seasonal. So that is the idea, and everything has to be from scratch. We don't buy already mixed stuff and then we make we sell it at the warung, like, for example, like pasta, or all the sauce like the chili sauce, for example, we make it ourselves from chili, fresh chili. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
That's
It's
yeah.
amazing what you're teaching the children, or what they're learning by doing everything from scratch. And maybe some days they can't make some things, or they have to, as you say, be innovative and use a different kind of milk or a different kind of whatever, and that's all part of the learning process. It's so cool. I love it. I'm really inspired by that.
Yeah, I hope I can, you know, like I'm not a chef myself. I'm just I keep telling people like I'm not a chef. I'm a teacher. I can't yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Ida, by the way. And and I would love to learn more like about baking, like make our own bread. At the moment we cannot we don't have our own bread. Kids still have like we still sell bread in the warung, but we have to outsource it. But at least we know where it comes from, like from a reliable supplier. We get it.
Yeah.
We get our bread from Bali Buddha, for example. So
yes.
yeah,
place to go there. Yeah. So
yeah.
I want to actually change and just ask you something else now about the school again. Like so the school, you said at the start, is like it's all, you know, it's made of bamboo and made of like sustainable materials. Could you give me more of an example of something like do you, for example, do the students ever use pen and paper, or are there certain principles that they follow? Like I've seen pictures, you know, on the internet. If anybody wants to Google Bali's Green School, you can kind of see images of what it looks like. I just wanted an insider's view of like a little bit more detail about the sustainable way they've made the school and things like that.
Yeah, we still do. We still do use paper and pens and stuff like that.
Okay.
But we do also recycle. Like kids also learn how to recycle paper and yeah. So we still use them, but we try to minimize using them.
Yeah.
We're minimizing using them. Yes. We do like if we can do electronic as well. Yes, we like starting in the middle school, kids are they can use laptop, so they have their own laptop as well. And as much as possible, we can use more of classes more online as well. I mean, like we use Google Classroom or etc.
Yeah.
So like everything's online, but it's still we still use paper because it's also really important for the kids to actually write things down on a piece of paper. Yeah, we still use them.
Yeah, and then the environment you said is bamboo. So is it all bamboo? Like, is it like the chairs and tables? Like, is the whole thing, the whole concept is bamboo, or?
Yes, the whole like the whole building and what do you call it? Furnitures, tables and chairs and the wardrobes and stuff is made out of bamboo. And the whiteboard, some of the whiteboard we use the old windshield, the car windshield, and then with the painted white, and then we use that as whiteboard.
So you reused. That's a example of reusing.
Yes, even some of the roof is made out of that as well. I think the nursery roof made out of that one. And then we have also like the old kitchen building, we used recycled. There's this company in Bali that made this recycled roofing out of Tetra Pak. Yeah. So we use some of the buildings, we use that.
Amazing. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And then I just had this idea as you were sharing about the electronics as well, like that could also be another lesson in itself. Like, well, you know, you're using all this electricity on your computer. I wonder, you know, is that good for the environment? How much power are you actually using? And then how much is that costing the environment? And how much is that costing in dollars? And all of this stuff could also be considered as well as the pens and paper. And, you know, like, you know, obviously the paper, I'm sure they recycle the paper and they use like both sides, and they can get paper that maybe isn't brand new, like that would be ideal as well. You know, like even boxes, I don't know if people still eat the cereal boxes or like things like that and write on the back of those. Like there's all these different ideas I just had as you were sharing around this, and I'm sure that different teachers in different classrooms have their own little way of things as well. Is that right?
For the electricity, I don't know like exactly the ratio, like, but we have our vortex, we have our solar panels, and also we have our vortex.
Cool.
but I'm not 100% sure was like how much off-grid we are. I cannot remember. I was told and I keep forgetting. But we kind of like most of our electricities they're actually coming from this solar panels and also vortex. So because we have the river just right below us.
Okay.
We have a vortex system that we use the river, the water from the river to what you call it, to get the electricity from.
I'm just learning from you as you're sharing and reflecting back a little bit in a different format, Yeah.
Yeah, it's really important to get them really connected with nature instead of, I think we were at Green School, we were talking about ecophobia, like instead of, we cannot just like bring into these kids like this world problem about this climate change and like the deforestation, like the orangutan killing or whatever. It's like we don't want to scare the kids but it's really important to get the kids to see the beauty of nature, to connect with nature, then they can start caring for them. But if we bring if we just like keep telling them like the world is a mess at the moment, it's not a way to get the kids to love nature.
Yeah, totally. I see what you're saying around that. Keeping it positive as opposed to looking at the destruction, looking at the beauty, and it makes sense to me as well. It makes a lot of sense on so many levels. Yeah.
We have this online platform for educators around the world. It's called the Green Educator course. I think you probably anyone can check on it. I think Green Educator course, Green School. If you go to the website, I'm pretty sure it's there. It's actually really beautiful. We've learned. I'm one of the facilitators in the past, the very recent Green Educator course, and then just learning from a lot of educators around the world is just beautiful. So this is also what we share with educators around the world in the Green Educator course. Whatever I just shared with you, and then a lot of other things.
That's so cool.
It's actually, it's a 10 weeks course. For open for educators around the world. Yes,
to learn more. That makes sense. That's a really good place to go, because probably there's a lot of educators like me, like that would be like, oh, we need to speak to Ida, but you know what, they can also do a course which would be really helpful for them, and it's all set out with all the principles that they may want to use for future schools that are being created around the earth at this moment. It's that sounds powerful. I'll have to jump online myself and have a look at that. Thanks for sharing that idea.
Yes.
Yeah. Was there anything else?
It's also like inspiring to me as well as an educator, even though like the Green School, but there's so many other educators from around the world. They also not just learning from us, but also we learn from them too.
Yeah, like the co-creation of it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, we'll put that into the notes for the podcast so people can look it up as well if they want to. That's really helpful. Was there anything else before we finish the podcast? Like if there's anything else you want to share before we finish today?
I think I just want to wrap up that, like we are all learning, evolving at the same time with our students, and just connect, either to yourself, to your students, to nature, to the society around you. I think that is the key to everything. And listen and share. I think that's.
Thank you. That's such a beautiful way to close. And yes, I also hear you. The new paradigm of education and all forms of education and learning and life is around connection. So that's so beautiful that you've closed with that word connection. And perhaps everybody on the podcast can feel into that within themselves. Are you connected to yourself? Are you connected to your child? Are you connected to your students? Are you connected to your life? Are you connected with nature? and use that as kind of a resource or an activity for yourself. And then from there, use that as an extension out to go further out as a resource to share with others. So thank you for that. I love it. Thank you for closing with that idea.
And then also like just understanding who we are here, you know, like on Earth, like we're just part of the ecosystem. And if we want to keep surviving on this Earth, then as a human being, then we got to be doing what we're doing right now. But this is what I would love to also share with kids, like understanding about we cannot save the Earth. We don't need to save the planet. I love sharing this with the kids as well. We do not need to save the planets. We need to save ourselves in the planets, because the planets can just like survive for, it doesn't matter with us or without. But also understanding, connecting with nature, that means we need, as part of the ecosystem, us as part of the nature, not because we need to save the planet, but it's more about we connect with nature. That means so that we can live in harmony, so that we can stay alive as a human on the planet. So
that's super powerful. That's amazing. That's amazing. And that is so true. Nature was there before us and will be there forever, and it's us that needs to walk with nature, right? Not the other way around. And
exactly.
I really love that in itself. What you just shared is something we can all just think about and contemplate on, because I don't even have words to reflect on that. What you said is so powerful. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in today for our New Paradigm of Education podcast episode here with Ida. And it's been really beautiful to connect with you and to learn more about the Green School, and learn more about nature, and just how we can all live in a co-creative space together. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.